Greetings and salutations. It is the show with Malrias, episode 5, the story of Fast Eddie and the Cat Adventures. So yeah, last episode I said I was looking to get a cat, and that's happened, so figured why not take an episode and kind of talk about that little adventure. It turned out pretty good. It's turning out pretty good. So, first let me kind of recap my last cat, Scarlett. That's the name that she had at the vet, or not the vet, where I got her from. And she was so sweet. Like, I mean, she was literally the perfect cat for me, and nothing will ever, take her place in my heart. Which is not what the new cat was about. I lost Scarlett a couple years ago, and finally got to the place where I felt I was ready for a new cat. And of course, bringing a cat back into your life, will stir up the memories of the last cat that you had. But yeah, I've been going through a lot of emotions. I was really close to that cat. But one of the reasons that I start off with the story is because it was the way that I found her, We went to I think it was PetSmart, I'm not sure. But right when you went through the door, they had like all of the cat bins, and they were all full of cats, right? And as soon as I walked in, like straight as you walk in, there was this white cat. And, she looked through her cage at me, and she's kind of laying on her side, and she sees me, and she immediately starts kneading the cage. And I stopped and looked at the other cats, but I knew that was the one. I just knew. And she wasn't what I was expecting, right? She kind of had long hair, white, and at the time, I think I kind of underestimated her, But there was just something about her. I can't say I misunderestimated her if I saw something about her, but it was just like, it was weird because to judge by the outside, that's probably not the cat that I would have chosen. But judging on the inside, like the interaction you had with the cat. So, this is like the attitude that I went with. On one hand, I was expecting to have some kind of interaction like that. But then a deeper instinct said, listen, don't expect anything. Just let it happen. Just let it come to you. Let the cat choose you as much as you're choosing the cat. So, I'm getting ready over the last few weeks, I think I mentioned this in some of my episodes. First you get a couple litter boxes. You should take however many cats you're going to have and add +1. Now, I'm kind of a one cat person. I don't go with multiple cats, but the formula still works, because even if you have just one cat, you need one cat +1. That's 2 litter boxes. I learned this with Scarlett, Best bet is to take as many cats as you have, add 1, that's how many litter boxes you need. So, before I did anything, like one of the first things I did was buy the litter box. I bought 2 litter boxes, kitty litter, and then on another day I bought some food. There was some BOGO going on. I got some food, some dry stuff. Ended up getting wet later, but dry stuff to start. And I picked up a few toys. I just started getting things ready. And I'm going down to Petco, right? And they had a couple cats there, but nothing. There was See, here's the thing too, is like, I'm one of those people that can interact with cats. So When I said before about, when I found Scarlett, there was that interaction. It wasn't just that it was interaction, it was the kind of interaction, right? But even at that, I'm not looking to replicate that experience. I'm just saying, like, there's just something there. Because I can't just go base it on simply having an interaction with the cat. Like the fact the cat interacted with me, because I'm a cat person. Like, it's not hard for a cat to like me, I'm not saying all cats like me, but it's not hard for me to walk into a room of cats and find at least one that, digs me. Because I'm a cat person. So, I'm seeing these cats. I see this one down there. She looked kind of cute. I was looking for a female. I was kind of thinking of a void cat, a black cat. Some people on the internet call them void cats. And I'm like, I'd kind of thought about going down that route. I definitely wanted to go female again. But again, something inside saying, just don't overplan it. Don't overthink it. Just go with it. So I go up there. I start going up there and seeing what's down there, and I'm also kind of seeing like how fast do these cats move, because I go down there, and it's one of these situations where you can't just adopt it through the store. You have to like wait for the people to be there, and they leave their numbers. You can text them. So I saw this one cat, and I texted them. I didn't get a response, but I'm glad. That's when I didn't get the response. I was like, no, just you're going with the flow. You're going with the flow. So I'm going with the flow. And I go down there on a Friday, and I see there's this new cat there. His name's Grimm. It's a male, and he's an orange cat. He's about 8 months old. He's almost full grown. Looks a little thin, but he's sitting up on in the box. He's by himself, for one. He's by himself, and he's on like the second level, right? And he's kind of looking down, and something I used to say to Scarlett all the time when she would perch herself somewhere and looking down, I go, "You big girl? You up high?" And so I kind of said that to this grandma. I was like, "Are you big? Are you up high?" Because he's like looking down at me. Because in the pet store, Petco, the box he was in was like the upper one, and then he's like, there was like a little platform in the little cage, and he's on top of that. So he's like at the furthest top point a cat could be in one of those cages. And so I was like, "You up high? You big? You up high?" And he was enough that I remembered him, and I read his thing that he had been abandoned. He had a pregnant mother, had been abandoned. And so I'm like, okay. But I'm still looking at this other gray female. But I take note of him. And one of the ladies there, who's one of the volunteers for the people who actually do the adoptions, she's like, "Well, we just have like, an adoption day on Saturdays where the people who do it are down, and there's more cats, and they have them out on cages. You can interact with them. It's like that's kind of what it's set up to come down on a Saturday." So I get up on a Saturday. I had to work that day, but I'm like, I wanted to do it on a day where I didn't have to work, but I always work Saturdays, so I was like, okay. So I go down there before, it's like 10 a.m. They open at like 10. I knew they were open by 10. So I got down there. They're not going to set up till 11. And I'm just like, crap. And I'm thinking, I'm here too early. Am I going to have enough time? Am I even going to get a cat today? I don't know. I'm not sure. Again, just rolling with it. And something inside said, you're right on time. And the truth is that I was, because what I needed to see was what I saw while they were setting up. And I was one of the first people there, and I saw the other people coming in, and they're divided. And they said, and they got Grimm. They're like, well, Grimm has to be by himself. And I thought that was curious, so I'm watching, and they pull this. Excuse me. They pull this little guy out, right, of his cage, and he's not like a scaredy cat, but you can tell he is completely overwhelmed by what's going on. And he's kind of looking out, and he's very sweet. I mean, that's what they said on the paper. He's very sweet. But he's not interacting because he's just overwhelmed. but I can see this though. Like I can see through that. Like I'm like he doesn't have a chance to interact, right? And of course, all around him is just mostly kittens. It's mostly kittens, and they're getting all the attention. And like off to the left was this one orange cat was a kitten, and he's like running all around his cage, and I overheard one of the ladies say like, "That's Fast Eddie," and I was like, "Yeah, that's Fast Eddie." He's like, he looked like a Fast Eddie. It was a really cool name for a cat too. I was like, "That's awesome, Fast Eddie." And it was one of those things where if I was at a different place in my life, or situations were different, I might have really considered Fast Eddie, because I'm like, dude, you're cool. But I also know what my life's going to look like right now, and like my relationship with Scarlett was more like we played a little, but I always had time for her. I always had time. I always made time for her, but I didn't always have energy to play with her, if that makes sense. But I always had time to interact with her, and it worked out because she played about as much as I had energy to play. She actually preferred, snuggling and getting her head pet and all that, and just, lovey-dovey. And, just being near me. And we had a really good relationship. But it was a good fit. But that's another thing that I looked at. Is like, even though I'm not looking to replace Scarlett, and I never could, and I'm not looking for a cat like Scarlett, I'm looking for something that's more fitting where I'm at right now in my life. Because she was I have to do an episode on her, if I don't cover everything on this episode. Because she was like, man, she was what do they call it? What's the name of that character? Mary Poppins. If you've never heard of this, a Mary Poppins cat is a cat that enters your life at just the right time, and then she leaves your life when her job is done. And well, this is going to be a very special episode of the show. I'm getting all emotional. And that was her. She came in my life at just the right time, and when her job was done, she passed on. And sometimes I still feel her, around me. And I think I'm more convinced that there's more to animals when they pass than a lot of traditions think. I think there's, but that's not. I don't want to get down that road. My point though is that, like, even though I wasn't trying to replace her or anything like that, there were still things that I knew that I needed in a cat. I was like, I probably should get a little bit more chill cat. A cat that's not going to be like her, but it's going to be like her in that respect, to where I don't feel like I have to play with the cat all the time. I can also keep the cat happy with just attention, period. Even if it's just lovey-dovey attention. And seeing Grimm, like, he wasn't rousing, and they actually let me put my hand in there, and I started petting him. And I do good pets, like, I do really good pets. I learned on Scarlett, and so he was like, wow. The Grimm was like, I like what you're doing. I was like, yeah, but I'm good at petting. And so at least that was the look in his face, because I pulled back, and he was like, he had that why'd you stop look, and even the lady was like, he's wondering why you stopped. So I'm like, yeah. And so then there was this other family that had a cat that they were looking at, and I was happy to wait. The problem was time's starting to come down. Like, I'm running out of time to go, get this cat home, get it, pick a cat, do the thing, get it home, get ready for work. And again, I hadn't fully decided yet, but at this point, I'm starting to lean towards, I'm going to go home with a cat today. And I'm looking at Grimm, and I'm like, I'm looking at his story, and I'm looking at the fact that he's abandoned, but he's just a very sweet and loving boy, And I saw him, like, he came out and he was nervous, and I watched over time, and I just kind of, I looked at other cats, but I stayed close to him. And I let them know I was interested. I wanted to get my claim in early. I was like, I want this one. So I let them know I was interested early in Grimm. But I just wanted to look just to make sure that I gave, fate and God and the universe a chance to, give myself a chance to make sure that I wasn't making a rash decision. Because I wanted to take my time with this. I hadn't settled that I was going to buy a cat that day or adopt a cat that day. I was just like, let me see what happens. Again, I'm just rolling with the flow. And as I'm standing near him, like, he never really started interacting with me, but he just calmed down. And next thing I knew, he's sleeping. Like, I'm talking to the lady, but I'm standing really close to his cage. And I look down, and he's just all curled up, like, inches away from me in his cage. And I'm like, I looked down, like, dude, you're going home with me. You're going home with me. And there was something that just resonated with that cat. And I was just like, you just know sometimes, I don't remember interacting with Scarlett that much before we took her. When I saw in the thing, I was like, yeah, let's get her. Let's go. You just know. And again, it followed my instincts of my heart was telling me, like, this is the one. And I understood what my instinct was trying to tell me of, like, it's not going to be the same as when you saw Scarlett, because this isn't Scarlett. But you had that moment of it's not just interaction, but like something resonated. And I'm like, yeah, that's the one. So they're having a hard time. Like, they have the room set up, right? There was another family in front of me looking at a cat, and they had one that came in that was sick. So they're looking at one that was like sick, not feeling so well, that had just been adopted. And then there's another one that's that they're looking with the family, right? And then so the lady comes up to me. She's like, oh yeah. Then that cat like kind of jumped up on a high place. So they're trying to get the cat down. She comes up and she's like, it's just gonna be a little bit longer. I said, you know what? I said, listen, I got work today, and I didn't say this, but I'm thinking inside. I'm feeling really, really confident about this, and I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and just take him. And she's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. He's coming home with me, and mind you, when I said this, I'm not. Please don't think that I'm playing a game, because when I made that decision, I understood how much damage it would be, how much more trauma it would be for me to take this cat home, have this cat start bonding with me, and then bring it back if I didn't like it. So you have to understand, when I said let's do it, that I was willing, like, if the only way I was going to bring that cat back is if it absolutely did not like me. But it was like, I was prepared, like, hey, even if this just kind of works, I'm going to stick with it, because I can't, this cat's been abandoned. I can't do that to him. I want this to be the last place that he moves. I want him to be with me. I want to be okay. Because I am an empathetic person. I do understand that this isn't just me. This is another creature, right? And this creature has a past. This creature has been hurt. Even if it was just, I don't know if it got traumatized while it was on its own with its mom. But just losing its family, I'm sure, was traumatic. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that to this cat. So as long as it works a little bit, I want to make it work. That's what I had in my mind. Oh my God, I got this. Oh no, I'm jumping ahead in the story. So while I'm waiting the process, this little family comes up, and there's Fast Eddie, right? They're looking at these two little kids, and they're cute little kids. I'm not trying to down on them. These two little boys, and they're like, we want this cat. And this Fast Eddie, I'm like, Fast Eddie's awesome, right? And I'm listening to them talk to, and of course they're kids, they don't understand. The problem is that these two kids came down with they came down with a complete different mindset than I did. I'm going looking for another being that's going to connect with me. They went in with, like, we want to mold a cat into our will. So you look at Fast Eddie, and he's like, dude, that is obviously Fast Eddie. just by looking at the cat, because the cat's literally that little kid was literally climbing all around its cage. Like, I'm like, dude, you're Fast Eddie. It's obvious. And these little kids are sitting there going, this is what we wanted. We wanted an orange cat, and we wanted to name it Muffin. And I'm like, first I'm like, dude, aren't you like two little dudes? Like, why would you call a cat Muffin to begin with? But anyways, I mean, I understand it's 2026, but masculinity is still a thing. If you're like a little dude, please don't call. And like, if you are fluid or something, then that's fine. These kids weren't fluid. They were little boys. I'm thinking to myself, why Muffin? I don't get it. But that's their choice. I'm not criticizing their preference. I mean, it's not my preference. But I mean, like, and it's not that Muffin's a bad name. It's like, but against Fast Eddie, look at the cat, right? So I'm having a little existential breakdown. I'm going like, it's not so like it's. I don't want to make it sound like it's like, that's too soft of a name, Muffin. I mean, that's, itself, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's like, you have to see the context, I'm like, why do you want to call this thing Muffin? Like, Fast Eddie's perfect, So that kind of was sad for me. That part was the only sad part of the day, is that this beautiful cat, who's got the most awesome cat name I had heard in a while, is going to lose it because these two kids came in with a preconceived idea of what they wanted in a cat. And it's all external. They're kids. They don't understand better. I'm not criticizing. I mean, I am criticizing them, but I'm not trying to say they're bad people. They're kids. They don't know any better. I didn't know any better at some point. But you can see the difference. So I get Grimm home, and we're just like, dude, we are bonding. We are bonding like really well. Really well. And so last night I go in my room. And of course I'm keeping things secure. So even if he gets out of my room, he's not getting loose right away. And I've been easing him into the house. But I opened the door last night, and he shoots out, and I've been telling the story of Fast Eddie to my mother, who I'm staying with. And she's like, well, that's Fast Eddie right there. She saw him shoot out the door. And I was like, you know what? Because I wanted to keep the name Grimm because that was his name. But I'm kind of caught. I kind of just want to start calling him Fast Eddie. Because once he got comfortable to where he was moving around, and then he decided he wanted out of my room and then to the rest of the house, like, that little dude is fast. And I'm like, dude, like... try to open the door, he just shoots around me. So I'm considering giving him the name Fast Eddie, and partly because, in honor of the other Fast Eddie who lost the name. But you know what? Maybe it wasn't meant, I don't know why those two young gentlemen decided that they wanted an orange cat named Muffin. Maybe it was something they saw on a show or whatever. And I don't, like I said, I don't want it to sound like just in and of itself that I'm criticizing that. Like, that's fine. But the context, like this little pipsqueak kitten is just zooming all over the cage. And it was just like, dude, that's Fast Eddie. So, but maybe it wasn't meant to be. Because what has the lesson been through the whole journey was just roll with it. And I wanted to keep the name Grimm, and I'm not quite sure how long he had the name Grimm, to be honest with you. I don't know if that's the name he always had, or if they just gave it to him, because he did look kind of reserved and grim. Maybe that's why they called him that. But I'm getting more Fast Eddie vibes, because again, he's not a kid, so he's not running around, but he might be related to that. It's quite possible he was related to that other cat, that other orange cat that was in there. But anyways, yeah, we've been bonding pretty well. And I didn't, from go one, I didn't quite think that Grimm perfectly fit his, because he's not that Grimm. I mean, he's kind of, in the sense of like it's kind of a metal name. So maybe I'll just say that that's his metal name was Grimm. But I kind of want to call him Fast Eddie now. Of course, if you have an opinion, leave it in the comments. What else was I gonna say? So last night, I'm at work and I'm thinking about him. I'm glad I got 2 days off because I can play with him, start bonding more in the next 2 days. But I'm like, what was I saying? Shit. Smoking that motor breath today, by the way. I tell people, man, like I'm a pothead, so I have really good long-term memory, but I do not have good short-term memory anymore, especially as I'm getting older. Like if it ain't good in my long-term, like I'm probably not going to remember it a couple seconds from now. I walked to the back at work, I walked to the back to get stuff, and I'm just like, what the hell did I come back here for, man? Like I completely lose what I was doing. I'm just been like, oh God, I got to retrace my steps, and you go, oh yeah, I was pulling eggs out or something. I've done it with customers too, but I get but that's a little more of a panic moment because you're like, oh my God, I just forgot what I went to check for this customer for. You can't come back out 5 minutes later. What was it? I was looking for you again. But I've almost had to do it. Like I kind of low key did it one day. I didn't quite leave them in the back, but I was guiding it. Had a guest ask me if something was, and I'm like, come on, I'll show you. Because I'm the kind I will take you to the place. So I'm taking somebody there, and halfway through, I'm thinking, what the fuck was I going to get this? Like, I remembered the aisle that I was going to. Once I got to the aisle, I'm thinking, what the fuck? Now I'm trying to look at the aisle of what's on that aisle, see if it's going to jog my memory. And finally, I just looked, I was like, what was it I was looking for again? I'm unabashed, I'm unabashed when it comes to it. But yeah, Grimm. What were you talking about with Grimm? Oh, yeah, last night. So I'm thinking about him. I'm at work, and I'm on my break. So I'm like, where's my phone? There we go. I'm on my break, and I was like, I wonder, because I saw that, like, this area has, like, posts. They'll post things online for like these strays, like you can actually look at the strays online before you can go down there, like at the rescues, So some places will actually post it. So I was just curious. I was like, I wonder if, and I actually found the listing on the Facebook listing. So this is interesting and this really got me because there was a lot of I read his story that they put on paper at the place. It's like him and his pregnant mother had been abandoned, and left to fend for themselves. But I didn't know much beyond that. Everything else I'm just picking up from just interacting with him and knowing him. But this is what I read last night, and it really kind of brought tears to my eyes because it says. So, this is a little post recording editing. I decided not to read the actual post from Facebook, mostly because, like, I'm not really keeping my identity a complete secret, but at the same time, I don't want to dox myself, so to speak. And I realized, like, if I put that much specific information out, it would be a lot easier to, like, dox me, I guess. So while I'm not keeping myself a secret. I'm not trying to let everybody know where I fart. So it's enough to say that there were some things in that posting about Grimm that I really resonated with because he had been through some stuff, but he was also still ready to love, and he still had an open heart, and that's how I feel. So back to the original recording. And what really kind of hit me about that was like that sounds a lot like me, to be honest with you. It like I've had stuff happen, and but I'm still ready to love, you know. So it's obvious that we found uh, that counterbalance in each other. I guess I don't know if we call it counterbalance, but you know, two similar souls. You know, so I think this is going to be a good relationship. I think it's going to be really good, and it's like, yeah, there's no way he would be going back now. Like, he's staying with me, and here's to a long cat life, right? So if you have some sweet stories about your feline, or even if you have a canine animal, I'm not against dogs, but yeah, that was like that was like the whole half hour right there. I had a lot to say about cats, but yeah, we have a new cat in the family. And as I was saying, if you have a pet story you want to leave in the comments, that's quite awesome and all right. You can do that. And what else? This would be the part where I say we'll see you all on the flip side, and be well and blessed.